Hey there, this is Mr. Pilarski again. I'm going to talk about section 2.2, linear equations, an algebra 2 topic. It's also an algebra 1 topic. We'll be working with different forms of a linear equation today, such as the standard form, slope-intercept form, and the point-slope form of linear equations, as well as taking a look at the slope formula itself. So let's jump right into it. In this first example, we're asked to graph the equation y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 2. Being able to graph this equation relies on knowledge of this general form of a linear equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. Y is equal to mx plus b is the slope-intercept form. Of a linear equation, where the number in place of the m represents the slope of a line. And another way to represent that is like this. Now, if you had geometry last year, you might be trying to say triangle y over triangle x, but this special notation, that's the Greek letter delta. So we would read this delta y over delta x, or you could read this as the change in y over the change in x. That is the slope. That'll tell us how to graph the points. The y-intercept is the number in place of the b. That's the y-intercept, and by definition, that's where it crosses the y-axis. So when you go to graph this particular situation, label the x-axis, you label the y-axis. We take a look and examine the equation that we are given. In this case, y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 2. We examine the important parts, the m and the b. This being the b or the y-intercept, this being the m or the slope. And we plot the y-intercept. That would be starting at the origin going up 2. And then we use the slope to graph additional points, and that would be negative 4/3. So that means from this point that line needs to be going downhill, so we'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. That'll plot us another point. If we want to do an additional point, plot an additional point, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 to the right, and that is more than enough to create or draw in a line for our graph. Do that, and the red line represents the graph of the equation y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 2. Again, that had a lot to do with the being able to do that so easily, had a lot to do with the slope-intercept form of a linear equation, which is given by y is equal to mx plus b. Moving on to the second example, we have the equation 10x plus 5y is equal to 40, which models how you can give 40 cents change if you have only dimes and nickels. The variable x is the number of dimes, and the y is the number of nickels. We need to do three things here. We need to, number one, graph the equation. Number two, describe the domain in the range. And number three, explain what the x and y intercepts represent. To complete task number one, and we will do task number 3 first. We won't explain them. We will find the x and the y intercepts, and then we will describe what the domain and range is. Well, let's describe what the domain and range. The domain, remember, by definition, is the set of x values, and since x is representing the number of dimes, the domain is the number of dimes. And the range, since it is defined as the y values, is the number of nickels. We move on, and to explain what the x and the y intercepts represent, generally they represent where the equation is going to cross the x and the y axis, but for this particular problem, we we want to be very specific in explaining what they mean. So to find the x-intercept, we should know that y is equal to 0, so we substitute 0 in for y into the original equation, which is going to give us 10x plus 5 times 0 being equal to 40. Then we solve this equation for x. 10x is equal to 40. Divide each side by 10, and that gives us x is equal to 4. So that gives us the ordered pair, or an x-intercept of 4, 0. We will explain that in a minute. Y-intercept, to find the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. Some teachers like to call this the 0, 0 method because we end up substituting 0 in twice. Substituting 0 in for x, that'll give us 10 times 0 is equal to plus 5y is equal to 40. And we solve the equation 5y is equal to 40 by dividing each side by 5, giving us y is equal to 8. And that gives us the ordered pair 0, 8. So, what does that mean to us? What do these things mean to us? Well, in terms of the x-intercept 4, 0, that means we will give, you will receive or you will give, if you are the clerk, 4 dimes and 0 nickels for 40 cents change. And the y-intercept in terms of this problem means that we will give 0 dimes and 8 nickels. Now we need to graph this equation. We use the x and the y-intercepts to do that, 4, 0 and 0, 8. So moving over to here, if this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis, the y-axis was x, or the y-intercept was x is 0, y is 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, right there, and the x-intercept was 4, 0, 2, 4, right there, and then you simply draw a line through the 2 points. And that would be it right there. That would represent it. The graph. We can also see that there are other ways that we could give change for 40 cents using only nickels and dimes, and each point that I have graphed there would represent that. This being the number of dimes down here on the x-axis, and this being the number of nickels.